Well, hello and welcome back to your virtual tea time. My name is Tori. We are back in the studio. Justin Klemballa is here.
Hello, Tori.
Okay, listen. You just wrapped up your summer season at Forest Highlands. You typically have October off.
Yes.
How exciting.
I'm feeling pretty good right now. It's very nice.
Because Forest Highlands, the summer season is your busiest season. Even though you're at Paradise Valley in the winter.
Yes.
The summer, I mean, it seems like everyone thinks of their summer cabins as like summer camp, and they are like all in on golf and...
Totally, yeah. I mean, even though we live in Phoenix and we live in Scottsdale area, and we're going into our peak season right now. Peak season Scottsdale, Phoenix seems different than peak season, June, July, August, because kids are out of school. There's a little bit more time for recreational activities. It just seems like the golf season, even though our golf season in Phoenix, Scottsdale is more the winter season. Mm-hmm. We're running into holidays coming up. We got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas, and then we got New Year's, and it's like things don't really start hitting the ground until January. When the kids are out of school and people are just in the mode for more recreational activities, it just seems like a busier season. And then plus also the world is playing golf, right? All of our major championships are in the summertime, so golf really is kind of like a summer sport, even though for us here it's more of a winter sport.
Exactly. And so looking back on your summer season, were there any light bulbs that went off? What was going on this summer? What was really popular as far as your programming's concerned? I mean, we had our Breaking Bogeys group throughout the spring and summer, and we're just about to wrap it up this fall for this group that's stuck with us this entire season. And we've had a group that has consistently stayed with us, and they've gotten such great results. What's been going on in person? What kind of programming is really... I have run a kind of a similar program that we've been doing on Breaking Bogeys, just the in-person version over the summer, and the results have just been unbelievable. Just the ability to actually get someone better at golf and lower their score without touching so much on their technique. Everyone thinks that they have to change their swing or change the technique of how they're swinging the golf club in order to score better. But a lot of times just, making better decisions out on the golf course and having a better practice plan, it's amazing how quickly you can get people to lower their strokes just by getting them to think differently and actually utilizing the swing they already currently have. Exactly. So I'm going to use a real-time example because I just played golf at Arizona Country Club this past Wednesday, so 2 days ago. And we're on hole number 1, which, as you know, is a par 5, but relatively straightforward. It's a nice starter hole.
Sure.
It's a relatively easy par 5. So I hit a good drive, it's in the fairway, and I have a decision to make whether to use 3-wood and try and get on the green or just lay up with probably a 7-iron, which if I lay up with a 7-iron, it keeps me out of all trouble and I'll have an easy 90, 100-yard shot into the green. So I'm standing over the ball and I'm like, okay, what do I do? Because I've also heard in the past, it's like, get as close as you can, no matter what.
Totally.
Always get as close as you can to the green. So I'm thinking, okay, do I want to use my 3-wood? Now, keep in mind, I'm not playing my best golf right now, and I'm really not playing a ton of rounds right now. So is taking out my 3-wood and hoping to hit my 3-wood perfectly, because it's a 230-yard shot, so I have to hit my 3-wood the best I can hit my 3-wood.
Right.
Is that probable? Is it most likely to go on the green or something else, whether it's a bunker or whatever? So, and then I'm like, you know what, let's make golf easy today. Why make it hard? Let's make it easy. And this is literally going on in my head as I'm standing over my second shot on this par 5. And I thought, you know what, let's make it easy. And I take out my 7-iron and I lay up and I end up getting an easy par. And I kind of had that mentality throughout my entire round as far as my decision making is concerned.
Yeah.
Like, how about we just make it easy today?
Totally.
How about we just
have a nice day.
Yep.
You know,
Absolutely. And you know what's so funny too, you know, when you look at golf highlights, let's say you were to like look up on YouTube and just look at the highlights of golf, you would see these miraculous shots and you're like, oh my God, this guy like, you know, or gal hit it out of the bunker from a weird area and it kind of ended up right near the hole. And we get this envisionment that that's what great golf actually is. But if any of you out there listeners, or even I've had this experience and I'm sure you have as well, when you play with someone who's just consistently extremely good, they just shoot really low scores, their round of golf is actually extremely boring.
Yeah.
There's really nothing that they're doing extremely miraculous. They hit the ball like down the middle. They keep the ball out of trouble. They get the ball on the green. They're not even making a lot of long putts. They just don't make a lot of mistakes. And that's really the key to lowering your score, is eliminating the mistakes, you know, and people are always trying to hit these hero shots, you know, that they think that, you know, oh, I think I got a chance at hitting this shot, but then when they think they do, and then they end up in trouble, and then turn that into a double or triple, you know, that just crushes our score, you know.
And we all know how we feel after having a double or a triple, or even worse. It's like, it's a Debbie Downer.
Totally.
It's hard to get it out of your mind.
Yes.
So it's not just a blemish on your scorecard. It is like this dark cloud hanging over you for a couple holes. Now the best idea would be to try and forget about that hole as soon as possible, but realistically, most of us amateur golfers, we're grinding on that double or triple for a while, and it just affects the holes preceding it.
Yeah, because the biggest fear is that when we do make that double or triple, we're afraid that that cancerous hole has now become a disease in us, and we're going to continue doing that throughout the entire round. So we're just freaking out all the time about trying to get that out of us, you know, and really the quickest way to get it out of us is to forget it right away. But that's easier said than done, and it's a skill that we have to sometimes actually develop, is to be able to make that double or triple and just forget about it and just move on. Because a lot of times when we hit that double or triple, we're trying to make up for it on the next hole. You know, it's like losing $100 at the gambling table, and you're like, all right, I'm putting $200 down now to try to win it all back.
Press.
Exactly
press.
Right. And you just keep stabbing yourself in the leg more and more, and it just gets worse and worse.
Well, and going back to what you were saying about the boring golf is really how to lower your scores. I mean, we all have that lame joke of when we're in a foursome and there's that one player that just hits down the middle, and we're like, wow, that's boring. Why don't you just hit down? You know, like we all say, like, don't you want to see more of the course? Like we all have those lame jokes that we say to this other player who's indeed having just a nice, easy golf round, you know? Because not only are they making it easy on themselves, they also know their game. They know what they're capable of.
Totally.
And sometimes what you're capable of is different from round to round. You know, can I hit my 3-wood 230 yards more often? Yes. But right now, my game's not that good. So how am I going to step over a shot that's really hard to begin with, that requires a lot of power and good technique?
Right.
And think I'm going to execute it when my game as a whole is struggling. You know, like let's lean on the things that you're good at. You know, lean on the things you feel confident around, you know, and again, that can go round to round where you have to self-assess.
Totally. But you know what too, even at a 3-wood distance, 230 yards into a green, you know, I mean, even at the professional level, the median distance to the hole from 230 yards out with a 3-wood is not very close, even for a professional golfer. The majority of the time, they're actually going to miss the green. They're not going to hit the green. Exactly. And most of these par 5s that we're trying to hit 3-woods into the green to are usually well guarded with bunkers, right? You know, and then you short side yourself in the bunker, you know, and then you're struggling. Where if you do lay it up, and you don't always have to lay it up to the 100-yard marker. Let's say the bunkers are right around the green. You could lay it up to 30 yards from the green, but taking those bunkers out of the play. So I do agree with trying to get as close to the green as you can, but taking the bunkers out of play is a humongous key, because it's much easier to get the ball up and down from the fairway from 30 yards than being in a short-sided bunker, where you have to hit this really, really finesse shot.
Exactly. Okay, so we have an outline today, and we're going to be going over how to make golf easier.
Totally.
Okay, how can we make golf easier without worrying about switching up our technique? Okay, now I know most of us are working on a couple things with our golf swing. Maybe you're even working with a teaching professional. This podcast episode is not about that. It's about, okay, we know what we got. How can we use that more efficiently? How can we score the best with what we have? So I'm going to actually switch things up on you, Justin. I'm going to get you on your toes, okay?
I love it.
Because our conversation just now made me think, well, how about we break it up into two sections? Let's go through a golf hole. What can we do best on a tee shot to make things easier? And then we'll go maybe fairway bunkers, and then we'll go greenside bunkers, and maybe our approach shots, and then putting, and see how we can make golf easier just kind of going through a hole. And then we'll go into the practice section.
Cool.
Okay, because there's a lot to be said with practice and how we can, if we're going to spend a half an hour practicing, how can we make that best?
Totally.
All right, so let's start. Do you like it?
Yeah, I love it.
Let's get into it. So, tee shots.
Yes.
Looking at a golf hole as a whole,
Right.
and really going into it with some sort of plan.
Yeah.
Now, again, when we're playing our home courses, these are golf holes that we're so familiar with at this point that we do it without even thinking. So let's kind of think of a course that, when you're listening to the podcast, think of a course that maybe you've only played once or twice or maybe never before. This is kind of the mindset we want to talk about.
Totally, yeah. And even you could probably even take some of these strategies and play the course you've always played and try to play it a little differently than you normally have.
Absolutely.
Now, when it comes to the tee shot, the number one thing that we have to do with the tee shot is have to get the ball in play. We want the ball to be in play. That is the number one goal. If you're getting the ball out of play, meaning especially if you're hitting the ball out of bounds, or into the forest, or into trouble where you cannot have a clear second shot, we need to be able to get a club in your hands that you can do that with. And I sometimes call that the go-to club. Having a go-to club that gets you in play, even if you have to sacrifice some yardage to do that, that's a huge key that you could be doing with your tee shot to get the ball in play. So that means teeing off maybe with a 3-wood or a 5-wood or a 7-wood or a hybrid of some sort, but getting the ball in play that you can at least hit the ball a decent distance, but getting the ball in play is crucial. Now, if you're one that hits the driver down the middle all the time and don't have any trouble with that, well, then this tip wouldn't be for you. But if you're listening to this and you're like, you know what, I do sometimes have a lot of bad holes because my driver doesn't get in play, maybe considering putting another club in your bag to get that golf club to put the ball in play is a huge key for you.
Yeah, and again, that's not every hole. Because
No.
there's some holes that are wide open that it's like bombs away,
Well,
get your
bombs
driver
away
out
and
and
let it go.
swing away. We're talking more of the holes that do have the potential of getting you in big trouble.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
if there is out of bounds, if there is water, if there is a hazard of some sort, whether it's trees or forest, like you said, or like bushes where you'll go in the bush and you'll have to take an unplayable. That's
Yes.
kind of the situations you're talking
For
about
sure.
with the tee.
Yeah, and identifying those holes. I used to go through the idea of like identifying 6 easy holes on your course. We have 18 holes on a course, 6 easy holes, 6 medium holes, and 6 hard holes. So if you're on one of your 6 hard holes that it's like, you know what, maybe bogey here is actually a good score. And whether you're a tour player or all the way up to a beginner golfer, sometimes bogey is an incredible score.
Yeah.
And if you're going to shoot bogey and say, hey, I'm okay with a bogey on this particular hole, no matter what hole it is, I'm talking more par 4 or par 5, you don't need driver off the tee box to make a bogey on a hole. You just don't, because you don't need to be on the green in regulation. You get that extra shot to get on the green in regulation. So if it's a par 4, you get 3 shots to get onto that green. If it's a par 5, you get 4 shots to get on the green. And even if it's a par 3, that's a more difficult par 3 that's just surrounded by trouble. Maybe laying up to a safer area where there's all this grass and giving yourself that extra shot to get onto the green instead of trying to hit this high risk shot into this very well guarded green can be a very, very great decision you can make out on the golf course. Because that's another thing that we want to be understanding here. The decisions of the clubs that we use and the decisions of how we play a hole is under our control. And no matter how much we think about it, how the ball flies in the air is not under our control. And if it was, the professional golfers of the world would never make a mistake. They would always hit the ball because they are the best of the best. And if there was a possibility of controlling the ball in the air, they should be able to do it. And they can't do it. You know, there's still times that the ball does something that they weren't intending for it to do. So it's a little bit outside of our control. But if we can focus on the things that we can control, it lowers our stress level and increases the chance that we can perform better.
Yeah, and one more thing about the tee box too, and you actually taught me about this, is lining up on the tee box, or you know where to tee up on the tee box. So I want to talk about an experience at the club championship last February, Arizona Country Club. I was in a really tight match with my competitor. We go into hole number 11, which is a par 3 over the water. Pretty narrow green. I mean, you gotta hit a good shot. And I have the tee first, so I line up. The pin is over to the left, and I line up on the right side of the tee box. But it almost, from my eyesight, cuts off half the green because there's bunkers to the left. The pin is to the left. And I don't even I can't even visually see half the green because I'm lined up on the right side. Hopefully I'm explaining this well.
Yes.
But so I end up hooking the ball left, completely short-siding myself because it felt really cramped. Like now looking back, I can see why I hooked the ball. It just felt cramped. It looked cramped. And so I hooked the ball. I put myself in a terrible position. Then I see my competitor walk up to the tee box. She lines up on the left side of the tee box. And I'm like, of course she lines up in the left side of the tee box. You can see the whole hole. You can see the whole green.
Yes.
You know, and it just looks bigger. It looks like a bigger target. And again, we don't want to go in the water and we don't want to go into the sand traps. The middle of the green is a perfect spot for this. And I was already setting myself up for this tiny area that I had to hit. And it got me nervous, got me cramped, got me tense, and I end up hooking it.
Right.
And so ever since that day, because again, you can learn something from every golf round,
Yes.
Even at your home courses. Ever since that day, I have been teeing off on that left side, and it is such an easier golf hole because of it.
Yes.
You can see the whole green.
Yes.
So tell the listeners what you have told me in the past, so with teeing up as far as where the hazard is and whatnot.
For sure, yeah.
Where the trouble is.
So yeah, if you want to tee up on the opposite side of the area where you want to hit the ball. So so when the pin is tucked left and there's a bunker over there and you have a chance of being short-sided, being left is not good, especially if the pin is tucked left. So we want to be on the right side of that green, you know, somewhere in the middle of the green so that we have a good putt. Or if we miss the green, hopefully we miss the green more on the right side of the green because that's a much easier chip to that tucked left pin. So if I want to be on the right side of a particular hole, I want to tee up on the left side. And then vice versa. If I wanted to be on the left side of a hole, I want to tee up on the right side because it opens you up to hit over there. But the ironic thing is, and I think it's a kind of a psychological thing, is that let's say you come up to a hole and there's water all down the left side. We tend to tee up on the right side because it's almost like you're farther away from the water.
Yes.
So it's like, oh, I don't want to be over there, so I'm gonna come way over here to the right side of this tee box. But the problem is when you're on the right side of the tee box, it lines you up straight at the water.
Yeah.
So you actually want to be on the same side of the tee box of wherever your trouble is. But back to your point of on that particular hole of the pin being tucked left, and you kind of went on the right side to kind of get this beautiful view of this flag. So many people get so stuck into where's the flag and I want to hit the ball at the flag. And I actually had a funny story when I was growing up as a junior golfer. I was in this group of guys that we always played. It was called the Loop. We played on Saturday mornings, and they kept everyone's scoring average just to see who would be the A, B, C, D player. For whatever reason that morning, all the flags on the course were taken out. I don't remember why, whether they were painting the flags or someone stole them, I can't remember. But there were no flags on the golf course, and we had to play 18 holes with no flags in the golf course. Every single person that in the entire group shot lower than their average score that day because we had no idea where the flag was. We obviously, once we got on the green, we could see where the hole was, and then we putted to it. And that's the only time that it really matters where the hole is. So it's like, if you're always going for the middle of the green, typically you're going to score better. But that flag really sucks you into sometimes aiming for it, and then it brings into trouble that we don't want to have, you know? So being able to hit the ball in the middle of the green. And if any of you out there play in groups of, like, maybe you play in your 18-holers or your 9-holers, I think it'd always be an amazing idea. Just one day, if your pro who runs your group is looking for an idea to just make things different, go pull the flags for the entire 18 holes just for one day. Let's just see what happens. I highly doubt people will play worse.
Yeah.
I think they'll play better.
And that is a question I get all the time. Like, do you have any unique games that the WGA can, you know, incorporate into their schedule this year? That is such a good idea.
Yeah.
Even if it's like one of the days for an 18-hole group, there's like 2 or 3 days usually out of the year that you only play 9 holes because it's a holiday or
Sure.
something fun.
Yeah.
Like, do that. Take all the pins out, and it could be called like captured the flag or something,
Yeah.
you know, like, and I think that's such an
It
interesting
would
idea.
just be such a fun experiment, which we accidentally did when I was a junior, because like I said, I think someone stole the flags or whatever, but like, if you could just play a hole, flags, in my opinion, just help people play worse golf. We think it's helping us play better, because we should know where the flag is. It just makes us play worse, because if you're far enough out that you can't see the hole, you should be aiming for the middle of the green. Once you're around the green, if you're in a bunker or you're chipping into the green inside of 30 yards, you can usually see where the hole is.
Yeah.
Just walk up a little bit, okay, there's the hole.
Yeah.
Fine, you can see it. But you don't need to know where it is if you're 100 yards and further out. Just hit to the middle of the green. It's a great tip to use.
Exactly. All right, let's move forward then. We kind of touched on, you know, having a layup strategy in our story in the beginning. Let's talk maybe about fairway bunkers.
Yes.
What's the best way to, you know, you get it in a fairway bunker, what kind of strategy should we be thinking of when we're in there? Because, I mean, we need to get out.
Totally.
You know, and what else should we be thinking that?
Yeah, rule number 1 when you're in a fairway bunker, you have to have enough loft to get over the lip. So there's always going to be some type of a lip. Hopefully it's a low one, so then you can use a stronger club to advance the ball. But sometimes you're in a bunker, or your placement of your ball is sometimes near the lip. We have to pick a club that will absolutely get above that lip. After you are assured that you're going to get above the lip, we want to use the strongest club to help us advance the ball as far as possible, or hopefully in the distance of where we're going into the flag. The next big key, and once you've said you can get over the lip and you're advancing as far as you can, our big key here is that we have to hit the golf ball first. We have to hit that ball first. So playing the ball a little bit further back in your stance, I think, is always a big key. I also am a big fan of when you are in the bunker, and if my hands here, if you're watching on film here, are my feet, is just digging in your forward foot. If you were to only dig in your forward foot, not your back foot, it kind of gets you to lean a little bit more into the left side, which then makes it more probable that you'll hit the sand in front. It's ironic that when you're in a bunker around the green, the goal is to hit the sand first, then the ball. When you're in a fairway bunker, our job is to hit that ball first and then the sand second. Now, a lot of people sometimes think, oh, maybe I should just pick the ball clean. The reason why I don't love that strategy is because it just increases the chance you'll catch it thin. And if you catch it thin, it shoots the ball out lower and has a higher chance of catching that lip and leaving you in the bunker, which is the cardinal sin. We do not want that. We have to get the ball out, and we want to advance it as far as we can. So hitting the sand is okay and also encouraged, but we want to hit the sand in front of the ball. So playing the ball back in your stance and then digging in that foot on the left side if you're a right-handed golfer, and keeping that weight forward is a huge key for the fairway bunker.
Yeah. And would you agree? Because anytime I see someone go into a fairway bunker with a wood, it gets me nervous.
Yeah.
I'm like, how are they possibly going to get this in the air quick enough to
Clear the lip.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, even sometimes with a hybrid, I have to have even myself, when I hit a fairly high ball, there's rarely a chance or a time where I'm using a hybrid off of a fairway bunker just because they typically do still come out a little lower than my irons.
Yep.
So can we talk about fairway woods out of the bunker? Like, just think twice maybe.
Yeah, unless it's something, and here's a rule of thumb I always say, if it's not something that you feel like you can pull off 8 out of 10 times, you shouldn't be doing it. So we need to be making decisions out on the golf course of things that we feel like we can do 8 out of 10 times. Now, would it be awesome to hit a fairway bunker, a fairway wood out of a fairway bunker and advance it as far as possible? Yes, it would be awesome. But if you don't think you can do that 8 out of 10 times, maybe we should be picking a club that's a little bit more, has a higher chance of higher success. The other thing that I think a lot of people don't do is no one ever practices fairway bunkers for a couple of reasons. One is that there's usually never a place to actually practice it. Most fairway bunkers are not built on a practice range where you can go practice fairway bunkers. And then two, no one ever thinks to do it in a recreational round, which I think is an amazing way to practice it. So and those of you who are out there that are looking for fun ways to, and maybe a fun WGA game as well, is that once you hit your drive, you have to pick up your ball and throw it into the fairway bunker, and you have to play from there. Everyone's going to be in a fairway bunker today. Would be a fun WGA game. But then also, just if you're just doing it on your own, pick up that ball, throw it into the fairway bunker, and you have to hit, 14 fairway bunkers that day because of all the par 4s and the par 5s, and you have to practice them. Most people suck at fairway bunkers because they just don't practice them. So find ways to force yourself to get in there.
Yeah. Anything else we want to touch on with laying up? If we have to lay up on a par 5, anything that, because again, I hear time and time again, and I touched on this in the beginning, get as close to the hole as possible.
Yep.
You are guaranteed a better score if you just get as close as possible. Statistics show.
Sure.
So what do you think about that?
Yeah, well, it brings up a story of a student I had this season. We were coming into the 9th hole at the Meadow course at Forest Highlands, and it's considered the hardest hole on the course. It's the #1 handicap hole. It's an incredibly difficult par 4 up the hill. And this person I was coaching hit their drive on the kind of the right side of a dogleg left, so he's kind of already farther from the green, but he's at a 3-wood distance going into the hole. And this particular green is guarded by 2 fairway bunkers that are right in front, and there's just this small little gapping in the middle, and the pin was, I think, tucked right. So I asked him, I said, what do you do? What's your plan here? And he had already pulled his 3-wood, because we get into this habit of just like, oh, I'm a 3-wood distance. Yeah. I can hit this distance onto the green. There's the pin, because we get into this very narrow mindset. Where's the pin? How far am I? I'm going to use that club. Yeah. We need to have smarter strategies going into this. So I asked him the question. I said, do you think you can hit this shot onto the green through that little narrow area onto the green safely 8 out of 10 times? His answer was no. Everyone's answer is no, unless you're an incredibly highly skilled golfer. So I said, what do you think I would tell you here? And he said, you'd probably tell me to hit hybrid. I said, yes, let's hit hybrid. And particularly, the pin's right. I want you to hit the hybrid to the left side of the green. The bunkers are now out of play. You don't have to aim for the threaded area. Just aim left so that you have a nice, easy pitch shot into the green. So he said, okay. He pulls out his hybrid, hits it to the left side, just short of the bunker over there on the left side, and now has this easy pitch into the green. Now he hits his pitch shot, pitches it up to 5 feet from the hole, and makes the putt. He made a 4 on the hardest hole on the course, which I think was his intended strategy when he was trying to hit the 3-wood on the green, and we made a 4 another way. And at the worst case scenario, he would have made 5 easy. But if he hits 3-wood and accidentally slices it a little bit right, he's short-sighted in this bunker. Maybe from there he tries to get really cute and gets it out and leaves it in the bunker. Finally, he's upset about it. He hits it and he blades it over to the green, chips it onto the green in 3 putts. I don't know what that adds up to.
It's a lot, and it's no fun.
It's no fun, all because of one decision that we could have had. So
Yeah.
yes, typically laying up, even if it's on a par 4, because we think about laying up on a par 5, well, I have this extra shot. Maybe on this par 4, number 1 handicap hole, this is a really difficult hole. Maybe bogey's okay here. I'm gonna lay it up to the left, and I still have a chance of getting it up and down for a par, and at worst case scenario, I make bogey.
Yeah. And that too reminds me of when I played Desert Highlands this summer at the State Am. Desert Highlands is a really difficult course. And yes, you can try these hero shots, but on these difficult courses, if you try these hero shots and it doesn't work out, you're looking at a ginormous number.
Yes.
And when I put myself in trouble, because I still did put myself in trouble sometimes off the tee, every time I took my medicine and just laid up to what I had to do,
Yeah.
laid up to the green, actually, I think more times than not, I got a par, And the opposite of that would have probably been a triple.
Right. Yeah, and we all know these courses. You all know the courses that you play. You know the holes that people have potential times of really blowing up and having big numbers. Any hole that a lot of people have 8s or 7s on, that is now your new bogey hole. You are playing for bogey.
Yeah.
Par is like a birdie. Play for your bogey. It is now, if it's a par 4, it's now a par 5.
Yeah.
If it's a par 5, it's now a par 6. Play for that bogey, because it is going to be a very, very good tasting bogey, because it feels good when you're making a bogey and the people you're competing against are most likely making doubles or triples.
Yeah.
You're gaining on the field, and at very worst, you're just staying even with the field when you're making bogeys on those very difficult holes.
Exactly. All right, so let's move up to the green.
Yep.
Do you want to, I'm seeing it as greenside bunkers, chipping, and then putting. Do you want to go over greenside bunkers first? All right.
Number 1 rule in greenside bunker is that the flag does not matter. You have to get the ball on the green. I don't care what the flag is. Don't try to get the ball near the hole. Anytime somebody's trying to get the ball near the hole, they typically do something a little bit different than their just standard bunker shot. And then they get a little too, they try to hit a little too soft, or they try to really hit it hard to get it really up near where the flag is. Get the ball somewhere on the putting green. Once again, another shot. If you could take the pins out for your greenside bunker shot and just aim for the green, that is the best strategy when it comes to the bunker.
Aim for the fattest part of the green.
Exactly right. Get the ball on the green so that you have a putt. That's what we want to do. When you're looking at the tour examples or tour statistics of somebody at a close bunker shot, so just 10 yards from the green, they will get up and down 50% of the time. So that means 50% of the time they're getting the ball on the green and 2-putting. So if you can get the ball on the green, anywhere on the green, and 2-putt from there, you are tying what a tour player will do half the time. Yeah. Which is all good with me. And if you're an amateur golfer, if you can get down in 3 every single time that you're in a bunker, you are doing better than most. Yeah. And that should be the number 1 goal. People try too hard to do this really finesse shot next and try to getting it near the flag. We need to have that nice aggressive shot to get it out of the bunker. Another just strategy technique-wise is that most people tend to not swing hard enough out of a bunker, mostly because they're afraid of failure. So most people don't swing hard enough when they're out of the bunker. I actually did a teaching and coaching summit in April at Paradise Valley, and we had a very, very well-known short game instructor come out who actually used to be a tour player, and I'm watching him hit these bunker shots. This guy is ripping it. He is just swinging so incredibly hard. I mean, if he caught ball first, this thing is going 150 yards over the green. I mean, he is swinging so hard, but he's hitting these beautiful, high, soft bunker shots. Yeah. But it's just so funny to see him hit. I mean, I was like getting out of the way. He was swinging so hard.
Oh my God. Justin goes, he's ripping it.
It's like he's doing a speed class out of the bunker. I mean, just incredible how fast he swings. When he was hitting these shots. And that's one thing that a lot of people always ask me. It's like, how do I hit that high, soft shot? Speed is the key
Yeah,
to that.
yeah.
Most people who struggle with bunkers don't swing very fast, and they're swinging very delicately because they're afraid of blading it over or hitting a bad shot. So that even if they do make good contact, it like barely gets up in the air and just barely gets out. You have to have a lot of speed if you're going to hit a successful bunker shot.
Well, and this too, we touched on this earlier. It's like we have this one time where we're in a greenside bunker and we blade the thing 50 yards over the green, and then that just sticks with us.
Yes.
That is like, we never want that to happen again, and yet we still keep thinking about it, and it's still affecting our shots after that. And it's like, we're gonna get into the practice section soon,
Yep.
but that's where, get in that bunker while you're practicing and just start experimenting, where it doesn't matter. The results don't matter.
Yep.
And gain some confidence in those bunkers.
Absolutely, yeah. You have to spend the time in there. Everyone usually gets to the range to warm up before they play, and almost nobody goes in a bunker to hit bunker shots.
It's not fun. Okay.
It's not fun.
I consider myself a practicer. Like, I pretty much practice consistently compared to to an amateur golfer. I don't even want to go in there.
Yep.
So I get it.
Yep.
But you have to gain that confidence back.
Absolutely. So yeah, the next time that you're going to go play, I highly recommend every listener to just spend 10 minutes in a bunker. And I'm actually, if you have the bunker by yourself, this is a kind of a cool drill that I like a lot, is to take your bucket of balls or your bag of balls that you have and like throw the balls around the bunker in random areas. Like you're just throwing out everywhere. And then just go around to each of the lies, because then you're going to get a different lie with each of them. Most people bring the bag of balls in, go to the nice safe area, and just hit all the shots right from there. Hit it, throw them in some really different areas. Now, if you're really struggling with bunkers and you consider yourself not a great bunker player, I maybe wouldn't suggest that drill. Stay in the safe area of just a standard bunker shot until you have that one down. But then if you're feeling pretty good about it, popping it around and giving yourself a bunch of random shots with the goal of just each ball getting out in one and being somewhere on the green would be a fantastic little drill for you to do before you go out to play.
Absolutely. All right, let's move on to chipping.
Okay.
Okay, so we hit our approach shot in. We're on a par 4. We hit our approach shot in. We missed the green.
Yep.
Again, we want to make golf easy.
Yep.
So how should we look at this chip shot? Maybe there's different ways to look at it. What do you got?
Totally. I am a humongous fan of, if there's an opportunity to putt the ball from off the green, you should putt the ball. So avoid chipping and putt the ball from off the green.
Yeah.
If that's not possible because it just seems a little too far, but you don't have any obstacles to go over, let's just say it's just fairway you're going over, I highly recommend utilizing a more lower lofted club, and we're doing what I like to call putting with loft, and using a hybrid or a 7-iron and just letting the ball roll up onto the green. You can do this all the way up to 50 or even 70 yards. I've done this like where people are like, hey, should I hit my full swing lob wedge from 70? Or and then I'm like, no, don't do that. Especially if it's just fairway going right up to the green. Let's avoid that option there and just take a 7-iron and just do a little half swing punch 7-iron up onto the green. It's amazing when I've shown this to people with zero practice, because I'm showing this to them for the first time. They've never even practiced this shot. And within one try, their shot actually ends up on the green and really safely to the green. Now, just imagine if that person actually practiced that shot, you know, and actually put some time into doing it. They've obviously practiced their full swing lob wedge that they felt good enough to do that, but what if you could just run a little 7-iron up onto the green? It doesn't look as impressive as the shots that we see out on the course, but does it lead to lower scores? Absolutely, yes. It does.
Yeah. And again, just like a bunker shot, our main goal is to get that ball on the green, to putt, and get out of there.
Correct.
So if you think about it as simply as that, no matter where the pin is, I just need to get this on the green. Then I need to 2-putt, and then I get to move on.
Once your ball is inside of 100 yards, you have a new game that you're playing. You have a whole new game. You're playing a par 3 course. Wherever that ball just ended up, you're now playing a par 3, and your goal is to make par. Get the ball on the green and 2-putt. And I've shared that with some students before, where it's just like, don't break it up into 2 holes. Hit the ball somewhere up inside of 100 yards. Once you get there, you're now starting a new hole, and your goal is to make a 3. And for most people, when they're inside of 100 yards, they're making 4s, 5s, and maybe sometimes 6s. Where once they're inside of 100 yards, and then they have to add all the full swing shots that got them there. You know, so if you can turn the hole into now this fun little par 3, don't try to get it up and down. Just get your 3. Get the ball anywhere on the green, 2-putt. You're going to lower your score. Guaranteed.
Again, because we're trying to make it easier, we're trying to make it simpler.
Yes.
All right. Putting. Well, let me start with this. So let's say I'm playing, this is usually when I'm in a tournament atmosphere that I have this mindset sometimes. But let's say I get on the green in regulation, but I have a long putt, okay? 40, 50, 60 feet. Big, long lag putt. And I'm nervous. Sometimes in my head, I'll say to myself, because the instinct there is to come up short when you get nervous.
Yeah.
So sometimes I'll say to myself, listen, who cares if you get a 3-putt? Just swing free, putt free, get it near the hole. If you 3-putt, no big deal.
Right.
Because again, you've done almost the hardest part yet. You've gotten on the green in regulation. When I have that mindset sometimes, it's like an easy 2-putt.
Yeah.
You know, because it just frees us up. You know, so let's talk about putting with confidence and really, you know, because sometimes there's just so much fear around putting, like we're gonna blow it by all the time.
Yep.
So
that's usually when people come up way short or blow it way by, is because they're thinking of the opposite problem showing up.
Yeah.
So if somebody comes up way short, I guarantee they were thinking, oh, I better not hit this past the hole.
Yeah.
Or if somebody blows it way by, they're like, I've been coming up short all day long. I better hit this thing. And then they go way by. So what that is basically you're swinging or making a shot, trying to not do something poorly, which is just never a very good mental strategy. So we have to ask ourselves, okay, if I was going to try to hit this ball as close to this hole as I possibly can, what type of speed would I use to just hit it as close as I can to the hole? Don't think about, I can't come up short or I can't go too far by. And so many times we approach golf shots in golf like thinking, what do I not want to do here? And it's just one of the worst mental strategies, but we all use that thought. So we have to just think like, you know, what do I want to actually do here? And how can I make this shot the best shot that I possibly can make? And then all of a sudden, just having that imagery of seeing that ball rolling up near the hole, because almost all the time we create something in our head first and then we create it in reality. So we want to have that mental picture before we're about to take that first putt to be as positive as possible. And when we see that really positive picture of just having this nice easy putt that's going to lay up right near the hole so we can have our tap in 2-putt, all of a sudden that alone, that positive picture relaxes the whole body and then allows you to make that nice fluid stroke. A lot of times these jerky strokes all come from a negative mental thought that we're trying to not have come true.
Yeah. And again, if we'll segue into the practice portion. If we are consistently practicing those 3-4 foot putts, and you're making 9 out of 10 of those, maybe even 10 out of 10, you know, maybe even more than 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
If you're consistently practicing those 2, 3, 4 footers, then all of a sudden the golf hole becomes a lot bigger.
Correct.
It becomes a 4-foot circle.
Correct.
Instead of, what is it now, like 3 inches? I don't even know.
Oh,
like
yeah,
the diameter.
Whole,
Like the hole becomes bigger because you're so strong with your short putts.
Right.
That the really long lag putts become that much more freeing.
Yes.
So let's get into practice and let's start with putting.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, most people don't practice with a purpose. You know, people just kind of go out there and they just go through the motions as if they are just like trying to put in their time and hoping that turns into good results.
Yeah.
Practicing with a purpose means that you're playing some type of a game where where there's a little bit of something on the line, meaning that like if you were like to work on putting, and one of my favorite drills with putting is called one step at a time. The one thing I love about it is that it takes zero setup to do, and you just take one ball, and that's a big thing too, only practicing with one ball. Why? Because you only get to putt with one ball out on the golf course. Everyone takes the classic 3 balls, they drop the 3 balls, of course they all bump into each other and they fly everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. But, and you're saving yourself 3
you're
seconds
saving
right
yourself
there.
3 seconds right there. But yes, put that one ball, and now I'm taking my one ball, I take one step away from the hole, and the goal is to 2-putter better on every hole. Drop the ball, try to 2-putter better and going into the hole. If you can do that, you pick up the ball and you go to 2 steps away from the hole. Try to 2-putter better. Then go into 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps. Once you get outside of 3 steps, our big goal at that first putt is just to get the ball inside of a 1-step circle there. So basically, as I putt the ball up, I go up next to the hole and I take one large step to see if the ball's within that 3-foot circle. And that's our main goal when we're kind of farther away. But what I like about this little drill is that it adds a little bit of pressure. The only way that you can add challenge and go to the next level is for you to 2-putt or better. If you 3-putt, you could do it either the easy way, and the easy way is that you just stay at that amount of steps until you can actually 2-putt or better, and once you do, then you keep moving on. Or you can do it the harder way, which adds a little bit more pressure, and that is that if you 3-putt, you have to start over and go back to 1 step again. So see how many steps you can get out away from the hole where you're 2-putting or better every single time without a 3-putt. Is a fantastic way to putt and practice, because it's putting that pressure that you're going to eventually feel when you're out on the golf course.
Absolutely. And then moving on to just short game in general, comparing it to full swing practice. You know, again, if we're going out there to practice, if we actually make it to the practice facility, which just like a gym is the hardest thing to do, to just get out there.
Totally.
What kind of plan would be best?
I'm a big fan of the 1/3 rule, which is called the 1/3 practice rule. 1/3 of your time should be on full swing. 1/3 of your time should be on putting, chipping, pitching, or bunkers. And then 1/3 of your time should be on putting. And what I like about that is that you're practicing your short game twice as long as your full swing. And we've done the math, and it typically, if you look at just an average round of golf, usually about 2/3 of your strokes out on the golf course is a short game shot. 1/3 of them is your full swing. It's ironic because 2/3 of your shots are inside of 100 yards, and only 1/3 of them is covering the rest of the golf course, which is a lot more coverage. But if you go to any driving range and just stand on the range and just watch people practice, which I do for a living because I stand on driving ranges all day long, everyone's practicing full swing. Well, and it's the more fun thing to do. There's a lot more satisfaction in hitting a super solid shot really far and straight, and it's fun, right? But if you're attempting to try to lower your score and you want to lower your handicap, it's going to be done at the short game area.
Exactly. And it's funny, as I think about my game as a whole and my journey so far, you know, when you first start golfing, you tend to get better pretty quick. You know, you see results quickly because you've just started something. So as soon as you put effort towards it, it becomes better, quicker. And I was taking lessons at that point. So lessons helped. I didn't reach that next level in my game until I learned how to practice. You know, learned how to spend my time out there on the practice range.
Yes.
And I learned that, and I got better at it, and I stayed consistent with it. And then the next level where my game went from, let's say, you know, a single digit to a super low handicap was when I learned course management, when I learned how to play golf smarter.
Yes.
You know, and it's like, it can be that easy. It really can.
Almost every double or triple that you have on your score, which by the way is the reason why people are scoring higher than they are. It's usually not because they're bogeying themselves to death. It's just because they just have those couple of doubles or triples or quads on their scorecard. almost every single time that you have one of those on there, you can find a decision that you made on that course, on that particular hole, is the reason for that.
Yeah.
And going back to the example of the guy who I forced to lay up, if he would have hit the 3-wood, yes, there's a chance he could have threaded it perfectly onto the green and two puffers par. But there was also a very good chance that he could have short-sided himself in the bunker, and then all of a sudden he's got this really difficult shot, and then let's say he doesn't get the bunker shot out, finally gets the bunker shot out, and then 3 putts on top of it. You know, that's looking at like a triple or a quad right there. And then he might blame himself on not getting out of the bunker, or you know, or not hitting his 3-wood well. But it's really coming down to the decision that he made. He hit a very high risk shot and paid the price, you know, and just by playing that boring golf, because nobody's putting it on the top 10 Sports Center list, that the fact that he laid up with a hybrid, chipped it onto the green, and then made the putt. You know, it wasn't that impressive of a hole if you looked at it. But at the end of the game, at the end of the day, great golf is really boring, and we got to be boring.
Yeah, and just one last key too is knowing where your game's at. Being able to self-assess, like, there are days I'm out there and I am hooking the ball worse than ever.
Yes.
Well, guess what? If there's trouble on the left, I'm aiming more right.
Yep.
You know, being able to really know where your game is at on any given day.
Yes. And all the more reason of why you want to have a super solid short game.
Yeah.
Because you are not going to show up with a great
Yes.
swing all the time.
Yeah.
But the people that have fantastic short games, when they have a bad ball striking day, their bad round is just like slightly bad.
Yes.
You know? And then when they have a really great ball striking day, they can go super low.
Yes.
But when you don't have a good short game, so I call it like having a good short game is like having a football team and having a good defense, right? The defense doesn't score points, but it gives the offense a chance to really go ahead.
Yes.
Right? So that's what a good short game is. It's not going to make you, it's not going to, well, I guess it could. I don't know what analogy I'm going here.
Well, no, it's like a good insurance policy.
Yeah, exactly right. It's a good insurance policy, right? Just in case things don't show up okay, you can manage the damage.
Yep. And you take one step closer to that magic word that very few of us have found out in the golf course, and that is consistency.
Yep.
So, Justin, thank you for sharing how to make golf easier today.
It's my pleasure, Tori.
It is a hard freaking sport. So
It is.
These very simple ideas really will make it easier, and it will probably be less stress and more fun too.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks, Justin.
Thanks, Tori.